Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
We are so excited to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh!
Well, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score! And we'll see you next week, but until then, as always, go Chiefs.
Welcome. This is Freaky Friday on the Arrowhead Addict channel. I'm Adam Best, joined by Sterling Holmes. An exciting week, a Super Bowl rematch with the Philadelphia Eagles in Arrowhead this time. Not under ideal conditions, losing in week one. Xavier Worthy is doubtful. No Rashee Rice. Sterling, how are you feeling about this Super Bowl rematch that we're going to preview today?
Better than I should. And there's some reasons why I feel the way I do. There's some intangibles, some actuality. There are some areas where I think the Chiefs can actually have the advantage at. There are some energy aspects that I think are fun to hit on. But overall, yeah, maybe I'm giving the Chiefs too much of a chance for a team that just went and got their belt to ass just a couple months ago, but here I am ready to be hurt yet again.
Well, the Chiefs could not possibly be more motivated. And the thing to remember about the Eagles is they have a new offensive coordinator. Kellen Moore is now the head coach in New Orleans. Kevin Patullo has taken over. And that, I believe, is their third offensive coordinator in the or fourth offensive coordinator in the last 4 years, something like that. So, they didn't, actually look like they were completely firing on all cylinders in week one. Saquon Barkley was sort of held in check. A.J. Brown, who I think is one of the top 3 or 4 receivers in the league, had 8 yards. So maybe we're catching the Eagles offense when it's not really the Death Star it's going to be come week 16, week 17, 18, and into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Before we dive into our preview, there's a little bit of business we need to take care of.
Yeah, we always talk about underdog, and it's true. We love underdog. We're going to do a little lineup that I'm going to create in just one moment, but it's super easy. I'm going to show you how and just how easy it really is to create a lineup on underdog. With football being back, it is the best place to win money all season long. It is super easy. All you have to do is pick players, pick their stats, touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and a whole lot more. I did tackles last week, I believe, with Nick Bolton, and that was an easy win. Easy one right there. If you get your picks right, you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. What I'm going to do for the Eagles-Chiefs game is I'm going higher on Patrick's pass yards. See, it's really easy right here. 238.5. I think that's too low, so I'm going higher. I think they keep Saquon Barkley somewhat in check. He has his rush yard total at 87.5. I'm going to go lower there. If I wanted to, I could just end right there and just pick 2. I like picking 3 personally. I think Devontae Smith actually bounces back for the Eagles this game. Looks like that they're going to be without Dallas Goedert for this one. I think A.J. Brown gets a lot of attention thrown his way. So even with Devontae Smith only having 3 receptions, I will go higher. That right there makes it super easy. 3 picks and boom. Okay? Just that simple. Just that simple. Let's see what we can do, y'all. So if you download the app today and sign up with promo code Arrowhead Addict, you can score $50 in bonus funds when you play with your first $5. That's promo code Arrowhead Addict, because millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus, Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado, 4 games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Consult with your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncbgambling.org. In New York, 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-WIRE. Text HOPE and Y 467-369.
All right. You ready to dive into our 10 flaming hot questions today?
Let's do it.
We do not have our usual Talladega Nights video because Richard is on vacation, but do not worry. That will be back soon. My number one question for you, no Rashee Rice or Xavier Worthy, who we said at the top of the show, is doubtful for Sunday. Can Patrick Mahomes keep up with the stacked Eagles offense kind of blindfolded with a hand tied behind his back? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I do. I was very enthused by game one, even though they came out with an L. They had 3 30-plus yard receptions in that game. I think Patrick feels and looks different. I think he understands that just the short checkdowns will not be enough, even with a lackluster wide receiving core right now with, quite frankly, it's unfair to say, but it also is fair to say, 2 cast-off Patriot wide receiver members. I think this offense will get back on track, and I think Patrick is the main culprit behind it. I was very, very impressed with his second half, not just with his arms, but with his legs, obviously, as well. Yes, I do think Patrick can keep this offense humming and rolling against, again, what we all expect to be a pretty darn good Philly offense.
I've got some very encouraging statistics here that show that he has dialed up the aggressiveness. He really has. There's no question that his level of aggression is way up from last season. First off, FTN Fantasy gave him 3 highlight throws. That's the second highest number in the league behind Matt Stafford, who we all know is kind of a highlight throw merchant. He's like zero mobility Mahomes, right? Patrick had 18 all of last season. So 3 in 1 week versus 18 all of last season. He also had 2 20-yard plus completions last week. He only had 13 of those last year.
He had 3.
So he had 3? I'm seeing 2 on FTN, but if you're saying
they're wrong. They had 1 to Hollywood Brown. They had 1 to Tyquan Thornton and 1 to Travis Kelce.
I think we're talking about air yards here, though.
Was
Travis
assume
Kelce not 20 yards down the field?
I would assume so. It sure looked like 20.
Regardless, that number is way up. And then we have the scrambles. He averaged 9.5 yards on 6 scrambles. When things weren't really working out for him, I just think he did the Thanos, fine, I'll do it myself thing, which you love to see Patrick do that. I think he usually reserves kind of going scramble crazy for the playoffs, but they're just going to need him to make things happen with his legs on third down with no Worthy and no Rashee Rice. So, yeah, man, I really, really, really wish we got to see the Chiefs against the measuring stick that is the Eagles with both of their rising star receivers, but that's just not in the cards. Question number 2. Are we worried about Trent McDuffie playing outside corner and the size mismatch it creates with superstar receiver A.J. Brown?
I do wonder how much he will play outside. The answer I have is no, by the way. He's done it and played against A.J. Brown a few times now, and we have a decent outlook of what he can do. No, because I do think we'll see him lined up against Devontae Smith more than anything else. I hope that's the case. I know even an underdog, I chose Devontae because part of me thinks if that's against Jamari Conner, Devontae Smith will feast. When it's against Trent McDuffie, McDuffie locks him down. Part of it's because Devontae Smith went from being a guy who played 11% in the slot his rookie year, 50% last year. This past game, only 1 game sample size, 70% in the slot for Devontae Smith because Jahan Dodson's now on the outside and you have A.J. Brown obviously on the outside. Well, Trent McDuffie spoke today, and as he was speaking, they asked him, hey, how much slot did you think you were going to play? And he goes, that's about the number I thought, but maybe it would have been a little bit more because he was following 15. If you noticed, he was following Ladd McConkey a lot in that game. Ladd McConkey didn't play a lot of slot because Keenan Allen played a lot of slot. So I actually wonder if McDuffie's going to follow Devontae Smith in this game. He has been a guy who's been going all over A.J. Brown in the past, but I do think if it were me, what I hope to see, Trent McDuffie on Devontae Smith, maybe you put Watson or Fulton on A.J. Brown with safety help over the top, and maybe that even allows you to take Shamari Conner off the field and go 3 cornerback sets with Fulton, Watson, and McDuffie.
It's just a crazy situation they have in Philadelphia because Devonta Smith in his own right is a top 20 wide receiver, but A.J. Brown is just an unstoppable force of nature. And maybe he had a hamstring issue in the preseason. Maybe that's lingering. Maybe that was behind his lack of involvement in week 1, only got 1 target. But what worries me with McDuffie on A.J. Brown is Trent McDuffie can do everything right. He can do, make 0 mistakes. And he's just so much smaller than Brown that it won't matter sometimes. And that's why I hate to see Steve Spagnuolo and Dave Merritt even put him in that predicament. I'd prefer to see him shadow Devonta Smith, like you pointed out, and then A.J. Brown getting the safety help. The safeties did not look great last week. We will get into that later. Someone who did look good last week is rookie edge Ashton Gillotte. He once again popped in limited action. He damn near caused a safety. My question to you, Sterling, is should the Chiefs dial up his snap count in week 2?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like Ashton Gillotte was outstanding. Obviously, one play really stands out when he almost got to Justin Herbert for that safety, but Gillotte at least showed one play or at least a couple plays, and that's more than I can say for Mike Dana or Charles Omenihu. Those guys were seemingly nowhere to be found. We all expected Charles Omenihu to take a step forward a year removed from that ACL injury, obviously, but he was playing late in the games in the preseason, which was not a great sign, obviously. Mike Dana, we know what he is. He's fine. He's a fine rotational piece, but who has the most juice? Right now, I think Gillotte has the most juice of those 3 guys. Yes, I would like to see more Ashton Gillotte, even if it is only his second game in his rookie season.
Very limited sample size, but he led the team with a pass rush win rate of 25%. And why that's noteworthy, even in that limited sample size, is nobody else was above 10, not even 10%, not even Chris Jones. Down night for Chris Jones, which we will get to. But I think Ashton Gillotte, they're going to need him with the way Dana and Omenihu look early on. They're going to need him to kind of grow into his role faster than anticipated. And with what I've seen in the preseason from Gillotte and last week, I don't think it's crazy to say come season's end, maybe this guy's the starter. He's a third round pick. I think he was picked a little late for his talent level. I had him in my top 50 players on the board. I was super high on him. So I think if Chiefs fans are worried about the pass rush, the cavalry might be coming, and the cavalry right now looks like it's number 97. Number 4, will right tackle Jawaan Taylor finally get the hook if he commits multiple penalties in this game? Remember, guys, he had 4 penalties in the first 40 minutes last week. A penalty every 10 minutes is an insane rate for the NFL.
I'm going to say yes. Obviously, what Nagy said is, I'm not blaming Nagy, by the way, because Nagy doesn't have the real oversight. That'd be either Andy Heck or Andy Reid on personnel on the offensive line, obviously, right? So when he says he knows he can't do that, he's got to be better, and he knows repercussions. Well, does he? Does he? No, you pulled him one time in his rookie or his first year in Kansas City against Jacksonville, actually, of all teams. And I get why you didn't do it last year, because you already had Wanya Morris playing left tackle, and you already pulled Kingsley Sumatia. What are you going to do? You didn't have anyone in the wings. Well, now you have Jalen Moore. I am, though, surprised they didn't do it week 1 just to send a message, right? I was shocked they did not pull him week 1 for a play, a drive, to show that is unacceptable. I do think they will. If he has 4 this week, if he has 1, no, they're not going to pull him after 1. But if it starts getting to 2 to 3, I don't know if he'll get that 3rd if he has 2 penalties early in that game. I don't think they'll have the opportunity to get that 3rd penalty. They need to do something, even if it is just sending a message. I get he's fine, Jawaan Taylor, when he's actually not false starting or making penalties. But end of the day, that's just not good enough when you're getting paid that much money and you do have an option sitting behind him.
I think the problem with Jawaan Taylor, too, is the level of performance away from those penalties isn't high enough where it makes up for those penalties. Last season, you're right. they really had their hands tied behind their back. They couldn't do anything. But this year, it's kind of like, what are they waiting for with Jalen Moore, a highly paid tackle who they like, waiting in the wings. So I'm wondering if they wanted to see one game of Josh Simmons in the regular season against pretty good competition. You got Khalil Mack on that other side and some other good players before they made a switch at right tackle, because right now they have a swing tackle. And if they go away from Jawaan Taylor, I don't think there's any going back at this point. Maybe I'm wrong. And when he got 2 last week, I was just like, hey, Jawaan Taylor, this is the cost of doing business. This is just what he does. But when he got 4, I was a little shocked that Andy Reid and Andy Heck didn't yank him out of that game. And I will say, they are not quick to do this with their offensive linemen when they're struggling. They kind of let them, it's kind of like a sink or swim thing. We saw that with Kingsley Suamataia.
They were quick with Kingsley. They pulled him in 2 games.
I mean, they gave him 2 games, but when he was really struggling, I mean, I don't know. They certainly haven't been quick with Jawaan Taylor. I'll say that. So we shall see. Number 5, the Eagles secondary looks surprisingly vulnerable against Dallas. Can the speed of Hollywood Brown and Tyquan Thornton exploit this unit? Sterling, what do you think?
I think they can. This is one of those games where you really wish Rice or Worthy were playing, because there's a clear disconnect or a clear downgrade from CB1 and 2 to CB3. The Eagles predominantly just play Cooper DeJean in the slot. They say, hey, you're a slot corner. We're not moving to the outside. It'd be like McDuffie rookie year, basically, where it's like, hey, no, you're our slot corner. We'll figure out the outside later. Quinyon Mitchell is a really good cornerback. But then CB2/3, the outside spot, is atrocious for Philly. Adoree Jackson ranked 110th out of 113 cornerbacks in week 1. They thought Keely Ringo was going to be that guy, the guy from Georgia, drafted in, I think, 2023, if I'm not mistaken. He has not taken the reins and ran with it the way they thought they were going to, talking with a whole bunch of folks in the media in Philly. They thought it was going to be Ringo, and it hasn't been that case. So it's Adoree Jackson, and I don't think they're moving Cooper DeJean back to the outside or moving him to the outside because they just trust him so much in the slot. So, yes, I do think there is a advantage here for KC, whether it's Thornton or whether it's Hollywood. I don't necessarily want it to be Juju Smith-Schuster because I think Juju is going to be more in the slot more than anything else. So we'll see who is on the outside spot against that guy, but they should have the speed advantage, the quickness, athleticism, and just the advantage overall. Yes, I think whoever that player is for KC, they should feast. I would imagine it being Tyquan Thornton, though.
And Juju Smith-Schuster does a lot of his damage against zone, which he'll see some zone looks. He's masterful at finding those soft spots. That's frankly why he's still in the league, probably that and his blocking and just being a good hang in the locker room, a good teammate. Adoree Jackson, man. I remember tweeting during last Thursday's season opener that Xavier Worthy was going to feast on Adoree Jackson because they were going to move Worthy around and get that matchup. That's what Andy Reid likes to do. And now it's Hollywood Brown, but Hollywood Brown, I thought he looked the best he has in a Chiefs uniform in week 1. Now, granted, he was getting crazy volume, but if you look at his yards per route run number in week 1, it was 2.15. That would have ranked top 20 on the 2024 season. And even in a 1-game sample size, that's pretty high-level receiver play. So from a guy that we worried are his best days behind him, maybe not. And I think one advantage the Chiefs have here is that they have some savvy route runners when you throw Travis Kelce in the mix versus some very young corners. Adoree Jackson's not young, but Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean are second-year players. Now, that didn't matter in the Super Bowl because, frankly, they didn't look like rookies last year, and they don't look like second-round players this year. But I do think the Chiefs have a speed advantage. Hollywood Brown and Tyquan Thornton are 2 of the fastest players in the entire league. So I'm feeling good about that matchup, even though I would like to have Mahomes' full arsenal deployed for this game. But that's not going to happen. Maybe it will happen early next year. Number 6, is the Chiefs safety room as disastrous as it seemed in week 1? I have a couple grades for you. Chamari Connor, 45.6 PFF coverage grade, and Jaden Hicks, 31.2 PFF coverage grade. That is deep, deep red. Not good.
It's not as bad. I don't know more than Dave Merritt. I do not know more than Steve Spagnuolo. But we have seen at times the Chiefs fall in love with players who are fine players or players who are good in limited roles. Yet they fall in love and they seemingly are always on the field. Chamari Connor, to me, is becoming Dan Sorensen. They had a role. They're fine. Like, it's almost not even all their fault. They just shouldn't be on the field that much. Like, Chamari Connor is a fine football player, but he's not an every single down guy, especially when you're putting him in the slot. I don't understand what they see. I think Christian Roland Wallace is better in the slot. Again, I don't know more than those guys. I have no idea what's going on or transpiring in practice that makes him believe that Chamari is the focal point of the defense. But I think he's a good player. I just think he's overexposed right now. Jaden Hicks is concerning. We all thought that he was going to fill in, and what we heard from the team was he's the new Justin Reed, and then he's the third safety. I don't understand that. They've talked about how he's the best free safety and strong safety, yet he can't be the starter at either position. That was weird. And then you see him week 1 not look good, which is, again, maybe a reason why he wasn't starting. It's looking like they're missing Justin Reed is what it looks like. It looked like they're missing that veteran voice. They're missing a guy who, had some small holes in his game, but overall, you knew where he was going to be. He was athletic enough. He was a hard hitter. He was good enough in coverage, even if he wasn't, the best in coverage. Right now, I do have some concerns with the safety group, but I do not think they're as bad as they looked week 1. They're still better than that.
Well, this is the first time the Chiefs have moved away from having a high-paid veteran safety in that room for a long time. They had Eric Berry, then they had the Honey Badger, then they had Justin Reed. And I think it's showing with Chamari Connor. I think you totally hit the nail on the head. The Chiefs defensive coaching staff falls in love with players who, I think the common thread here is athletic capability might be lacking. And why do they overlook that? I think it's probably because they are good tacklers. They are smart in the group meetings. They know where to be on the field. And I think the Chiefs kind of lean into those kind of things over athletic ability. This is why sometimes Willie Gay didn't get on the field as much as we wanted to. And it's been an ongoing thing with this defensive coaching staff. So Chamari Connor, I expected a little bit of this. He had these struggles last season. Jaden Hicks has me hitting the panic button because I thought Jaden Hicks was going to take a big step forward this season. And early in the game, Chamari Connor was getting picked on. But later in the game, Jaden Hicks was getting picked on, giving up touchdowns, just looking a couple of steps slow all the time. I don't remember watching a Steve Spagnuolo Kansas City Chiefs defense and seeing wide receivers and other weapons just wide open time after time after time. It was crazy. It was like, I don't know. It was like they were playing 11 on 10 out there. They just did not look organized. And I mean, I haven't been the biggest Justin Reed backer in the world, but I've always said that he's a good leader. He's a super smart player and has all the intangibles. And they certainly missed those in week 1 versus the Chargers. No doubt about it. Let's cross our fingers that this group comes together a little bit better. And I can't believe I'm saying this. I thought Brian Cook was the best safety of the group. And a couple of years ago, I would have expected him, he was kind of the problem. Even when Chamari Connor was a rookie, I thought Chamari Connor was better than Brian Cook. So I don't know. I don't know what to do there, but the Chiefs are going to have to figure out maybe drum honoree Tyrann Mathieu can suit up and give them a few snaps. I doubt it, but it would be lovely. Number 7, Kareem Hunt was the third down back last week, somewhat surprisingly. Should the Chiefs roll the dice on Brashard Smith's pass protection to inject some, I think, much-needed juice into the passing game?
Before I get to that, I want to get to the super chat real quick from SA Flip 969. Appreciate you for the super chat. It says, does McDuffie remind you of Brandon Flowers? I think a little bit. I mean, you look at the size comparison. I think it's a good call. As great as Brandon Flowers was, and I don't want to have just not revisionist history, but a prisoner of the moment, because Brandon Flowers was really, really good. I think McDuffie's better. Flowers was really good, and I hope people remember how good he was. The Brandons, right? Brandon Flower and Brandon Carr.
And Brandon Albert.
Yeah, and Brandon Albert. I think McDuffie's even better than Flowers, but Flowers, you're right. That's a good call. I actually had not thought of that, and it's very, very interesting. Appreciate that. As far as this question goes, I don't know if I necessarily want Brashard Smith on third down, but I expect more Brashard Smith in the game, if that makes sense. It can be on third down, but I don't think it has to be exclusively on third down. I wouldn't mind leaving a little pony personnel with a couple of backs. Maybe you have Pacheco and Brashard Smith in the game at the same time. Hell, with the amount of receivers that are down, you might as well. Former receiver Brashard Smith, right? So I think Smith has an expanded role. I don't know how many snaps he gets, but I'll say he at least gets a target in this game, at least a carry in this game. I'll even say he gets both in this game. I think they need some juice, and we all agree he can provide that. Don't know to what extent, but yeah, I think we'll see Brashard Smith at some point.
It's a really tough decision for me because Kareem Hunt is one of the best pass protectors in the league, but in terms of being a receiver, sure, he's got good hands. He knows where to be. He's tough to bring down and all that, but he just does not have any explosiveness left in his body at this point. So he's not going to make anybody miss out there. And he's not going to, if he finds a soft spot, he's not going to pick up 20 or 30 yards and generate an explosive play. That's just not who Kareem Hunt is at this point, even if he is, old, reliable. I think the reason why I still kind of want him out there is he's protecting the league's best player. And I think that has to be the most important thing always. Even if it sets you back a little bit in the moment, you got to keep 15 healthy for the long term. You can't be a prisoner of the moment and throw Brashard Smith out there too early when he's not ready to pass protect against the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't even want to talk about what could happen if that goes wrong, but I think that's why you don't do it. But I think you hit on something here. And we've seen recently in the NFL, I think Harold Fannin last week is a great example. Teams are getting better at using unconventional players in unconventional ways. And I think Brashard Smith is one of those guys. I would also say that Noah Gray is one of those guys that they're going to have to get some manufactured touches to and use a little bit more without Rice and Worthy. I think we're going to see more tight ends, more Brashard Smith. And I think you're right. Manufactured touches for Smith are the way to go. We didn't really see any of those in week one, but we did see some of those in the preseason. I expect to see him get a couple of touches because I just imagine the coaching staff knows that they need his explosiveness. Number 8, I hate to ask this, but I kind of have to. Do we feel better or worse about Travis Kelce after the Chargers game?
Yeah, again, real quick, let me hit the another super chat here. Appreciate you. That's very, very kind. Is this one of the 5 games CJ will show up and get a sack last year? I believe he only had 5 sacks in total. Karlaftis is more consistent. We're going to get to that in just one moment. I believe that is the next question coming up. At least we'll talk about Chris Jones, and we'll get a little more in-depth with your specific question, because I do think that's a very, very valid question and one that I want to take a little deeper dive into. So yes, we'll get into that and appreciate the super chat there. I think I feel the same. I was a little disappointed in his comments about the low energy, about how when he hit Worthy, he couldn't get back into the game until the second half. I understand the human nature of it, of you took your teammate out, you don't know how bad and serious the injury is, but you also know he's fine. Like, it's not like he's in a concussion or he's in the hospital. Like, you probably injured him, but you kind of got to put it behind you at that point. I know it's cynical and sad, but like, that's the name of the game. You can't let it affect the rest of the game. And he was talking about how it took him, at least a half to get back in the game. His head was out of it. He didn't have the energy. I'm like, that's back-to-back games now where we've heard from Kelce about energy, which to me is just can't happen. I think he was fine. I think the play call was incredible on that touchdown to him. I think it was great. I had no real issue with him. This is kind of who I think he is. A guy who might get you around 50 yards a game, might score you a touchdown. I don't think he's a focal point of the offense, although we'll see without Worthy, but he still wasn't the focal point even when Worthy went down, right? They kind of had moved on from that. I think I'm about the same of viewpoint on Travis of where I thought he was going to be heading into this year.
It was a little concerning to me that Worthy and Rice aren't out there and Patrick Mahomes is just spamming Hollywood Brown. I figure without those guys out there, Travis Kelce is getting a 25% target share. And that is just not what transpired at all. Yeah, that was a nice touchdown. I think play calling and Mahomes had a lot to do with that, right? It wasn't like Kelce was straight about running guys. So I'm a little worried, but I'm with you. I think he's about where I expected. You made a great point. Energy level. Travis Kelce traditionally has been the straw that stirs the drink for the Kansas City Chiefs. You remember the famous playoff game during their first Super Bowl run when they got down big to the Houston Texans at home, 24-0. Travis Kelce was going bonkers. His energy level, he was in people's faces. He always brings that excitement. And it just seems like some of his infectious enthusiasm has been zapped a little bit. I don't want to read too much into 2 games, but for a guy who is kind of the heart and soul of this football team and this franchise, you just really need that energy from him. If his teammates see him kind of down and lethargic, that's going to spread like wildfire. They just can't have that. So a little disappointing, but I understand like he feels a little guilty for what happened with Worthy, and you just have to move on. Mahomes accidentally hurt Rashee Rice last year. These things happen. Football is a violent game. It's an awkward game at times. You have to move on. Number 9, exactly what the Super Chat hinted on. Chris Jones had a very rare off night last Friday. What do we expect from him against a vaunted Eagles offensive line? And further than that, the rest of the season.
So this is interesting. Let's look up Chris Jones' game log from last year. Let's see if we can find it, okay? Because this is what I want to look up. Let's go to game log of 20. Let's see. Game log. Okay. My scroller is struggling mightily here. If I get there eventually, we'll find it. Okay, we clicked on it.
There you go.
Game log of we want 24. I'm an idiot.
Well, I'll filibuster while you're looking.
We found it. Okay. So he had a sack against Baltimore, 2 sacks against the Chargers, 2 sacks against the Raiders. The answer is basically no. I mean, honestly, if you want my full answer, I mean, no. He had sacks in 3 games. He had good call. He had 5 sacks total. Yeah.
My pushback on that would be, and this is kind of my hobby horse, so don't be surprised, but I think we pay too much attention to sacks and not enough attention to pressures, especially when Chris Jones was one of the league leaders in pressures, up there with Zach Allen and Myles Garrett at the time of his injury last year. And those pressures as well. That's what allows George Karlaftis to get these sacks. I don't want to take anything away from George Karlaftis. I think George Karlaftis is a B+ player, but I think Chris Jones is an A+ player. Now, maybe this year he takes a step back and he's only an A or an A- player. I think it's way too early to say that, but I think we have to remember what Chris Jones is up against on a week in, week out basis. Not only is he seeing double teams, the opposing offensive coordinator, the first thing he's worrying about, the second thing he's worried about, the third thing he's worried about is Chris Jones. They are tailor making their game plan to take him out of the equation because he's one of the most disruptive defenders in the league. It's kind of like, Micah Parsons or something. So I think a lot of what we see from Chris Jones isn't always tangible in the box score. And I think he does need to finish a little bit more when it comes to sacks. I do blame him for going inside and losing contain last week against Justin Herbert. I'm not going to defend that. I will say this, however, Steve Spagnuolo, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. You've allowed Chris Jones to call his own shot out there late in the game on pivotal 3rd and 4th downs and move out against tackles and kind of like choose his own adventure. Against Deion Dawkins in a big playoff game, it worked. Against the Cincinnati Bengals in a big playoff game, it works. It almost always works. He's closed out countless games like this, and it finally went wrong.
I just don't understand why, if you're gonna do that, put him on the inside. Like if you put him outside, he's way better as a defensive tackle than he is as an edge. I just don't. I don't get that.
I don't know. I mean, I think if the edge is weak, he's pretty good out there rushing the passer. The reason they don't play him more out there is what we saw in 2021 when they were trying to make him a full-time edge, and he had to contain. And Lamar Jackson was running RPOs out there, and Chris Jones couldn't handle that because he doesn't have the lateral quickness. But he beats tackles, and I think the reason why they had him out there or he was out there is because Trey Pipkins is their worst offensive lineman. So you want best on worst in that scenario, or if he's out there against Deion Dawkins, the whole offensive line is slanting towards Chris Jones. He occupies the toughest matchup. It makes things easier for the rest of the defensive line. I think that's why you do it, but it was just a huge miscalculation. I think Drew Tranquill had a right to be mad. We don't know the exact situation on that play. Only Steve Spagnuolo and the defenders do, but yeah, they just can't have that going forward.
Yeah, I'm team leave him on the inside. I think that's where his best strength is at. Again, he's incredible, but when you don't have other help outside of Karlaftis, it's hard because you're right. He just gets double teamed. This is not really a knock on Chris Jones. I think he's outstanding. The sack numbers, I do still think need to be higher. I know the pressure rate and all that stuff, it's great, but you're getting paid kind of like Aaron Donald, right? Don't get me wrong. I know you're an interior guy, but you're getting paid very, very highly. Sacks do need to come. I'm sorry, but when you're getting paid, not quite Myles Garrett range, obviously, but that's never really an excuse, right? If Aaron Donald didn't get, as many sacks, he wouldn't be the guy that he was or as revered as he was. Fair or not, that is a big part of it, of getting the quarterback down. Pressure's great, but Mahomes is under pressure. Khalil Mack won that against Kingsley Suamaitea, but what happened? Well, it's great pressure, an immediate pressure. 49-yard pass to Hollywood Brown. Again, over the course of the season, you're going to love those pressures. Those are great. But again, sacks, now the end-all be-all, but they probably are the most important aspect of a pass rusher.
I agree. They're just a little less sticky and a little bit more subject to variance, but the amount of sacks Chris Jones had last year weren't enough. He needs to close better. And we just have to see. I mean, I know that Chris himself expects to be better than he was last year. You heard it in his comments. And I think the entire defensive line, I mean, I know George Karlaftis had a sack, but I didn't think he was particularly good last week either. His pass rush win rate was like 8.8%. So I just think everybody along the defensive line, every single guy except maybe Ashton Gillotte, who looked good in a handful of snaps, has to play better. And Chris Jones, most of all. Number 10, the Kansas City defense did a great job corralling Chargers rookie running back Amarian Hampton in week 1. Are they up to the task of slowing down Saquon Barkley?
Yeah, for as much consternation as there was of letting Pennell go, the Chiefs' run defense looked really good. Now, I will also point out, they planned on stopping the run. That was the game plan. They talked about it, right? How that's why play action was so effective against them. They had, Bolton or even Drew, and sometimes both at times almost in the gaps before the ball was snapped. They focused on stopping the run. That was the game plan. But it's probably the game plan against the Eagles as well. And we know they can do it. If that's what they want to do, they'll take away Saquon. I think they can do it. Yeah, I believe in this Chiefs run defense when they have that as their focal point of their defense. They did against the Chargers, and they did stop the run. way better than expected. They were just way worse against the pass than I expected. Obviously, that soft zone was soft. It was not ideal. But yeah, I think they can do a good job against Saquon Barkley. And that's also another thing that Karlaftis does very, very well. He's really good against the run. I very rarely remember Karlaftis losing contain. Like he's just a trash compactor where he's not going to let you out. You're stuck there. It might be slow, but he's going to get there, and he's not going to let you get outside him. So, yeah, you know what? I will say that I think they keep Saquon to under 85 yards.
I agree with you on Karlaftis. I think he is one of the best edge setters in the entire league. Mike Dana is very good in that regard as well. And then Leo Chanel, when they put him out there and have him set the edge, good luck getting around number 54. He is sturdy out there. What a stud. It's kind of pick your poison, because in the Super Bowl, they just look like, first and foremost, hell or high water, we are going to stop Saquon Barkley. And then A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith lit them up like a Roman candle, and so it's like, what do you want to give up against this Eagles offense? They've got the best offensive line in the league. They've got the best, maybe the second best combo of receivers. If you think Cincinnati has better, it's very close. They have the best running back in the league. Now, not having Dallas Goedert is going to hurt them, because I think it's the same thing with A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. I think sometimes fans underrate how good they are because they are in a run-heavy offense. But if Dallas Goedert was in an offense where they passed a lot, I think we'd be talking about him every year like a top 5 tight end. He would have had more of a Mark Andrews career track or whoever. The other thing I'll say is, I think because the Chargers have Amari in Hampton and they have Harbaugh as their head coach and Greg Roman as their offensive coordinator, everyone assumes that they're really good running the football. Last season, they were not really good running the football. We don't know if this season they are good running the football or not, but given the state of their offensive line and already having lost Rashawn Slater, I'm just not sure that the Chargers are very good at running the football. And we know the Eagles are very good at running the football. We saw that even when Will Shipley entered the game. Will Shipley looked like, and I think he's a good player. I was really high on him coming out of the draft. God, I wish he was a Chief. But he looked great running behind that line. And I'm sure Tank Bigsby will look great running behind that line because they're a bunch of studs. They've got Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson and Landon Dickerson. You cannot construct a better offensive line than they have in Philadelphia. So you have to wonder, too, Saquon didn't have a great week last week against the Cowboys. He was good, but he didn't have one of his signature performances. And he didn't have one of his signature performances against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So I'm sure he's going to come out and want to make things happen early and often. So fingers crossed there. Sterling, we got to get to prediction. What's your call for Sunday?
Yeah, I'm crazy for it. I think Chiefs win 30-22. I think the Chiefs' energy level is going to be through the roof, especially early on. I'm all in on Patrick this year. I'm buying into him being what he once was, not the past year or two, but back to the Patrick of old with the ridiculous throws and the overminded body. And I think they can get a couple big plays deep in this one over CB2. I think Tyquan Thornton, Hollywood, someone's going to have a big catch deep down the field. I believe it. Whether they can run the football or not remains to be seen. But again, I think the energy level will carry over heavily onto the defensive side of the ball. I think Jalen Hurts is a really good quarterback. I think that he sometimes gets unfairly criticized because he doesn't have crazy numbers, because he doesn't have to. The goal of the game is to win, and Jalen Hurts wins. Whether he goes 19 of 23 for 150 yards or he has to carry the team on his back, we've seen him do that before. What I do think, though, is this defense does a good job holding Barkley down. I don't know if A.J. Brown's injured or what, but we'll find out just if he was banged up or limited at all in that game. I'm in. I'm not trying to be a homer. This is not me. This is what I firmly believe. I'll put money on it. I'm going to do it. But I think Chiefs win, and I think they do it 30-22.
You're right. If A.J. Brown is compromised, that would be huge when Dallas Goedert is already out. I look at this game, and I get what you're saying about Jalen Hurts. He is the consummate leader. He is a very, very good quarterback. He is a franchise quarterback. I think he's a top 12 quarterback or so in the league. Would I take him over Jordan Love? I don't know, man. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the kind of quarterback we're talking about. And if you look at the degree of difficulty for these two quarterbacks, the gap is as wide as the Grand Canyon. I mean, Jalen Hurts is in the best situation. I mean, maybe J.J. McCarthy, but him or J.J. McCarthy have just the best possible situation you could walk into. And Mahomes, once again, he's found himself in a situation early in the season, which is just is kind of demoralizing, where he's asked to do more than any quarterback should ever be asked to do. And it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. I want to see, after all this belt to ass talk, I want to see a full Chiefs Death Star against a full Eagles Death Star. I want to see what the Chiefs look like. We're not going to get to see that. But speaking of the belt to ass thing, the Chiefs have been, this bad taste has been lingering in their mouth for half a year. I really think that matters. I think they're going to be as motivated as a regular season football team can be in week 2. They're going to come out. They're going to take care of business. The Arrowhead crowd is going to make a difference, and they're just going to eke it out like they did so many times last season, 27-24. I think this game means more to the Chiefs, both from a record standpoint and a pride standpoint. And I think that's going to be probably the difference on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
Let's get us out of here with our final segment. What's spinning? Sterling, what are you listening to?
Yeah. By the way, yeah, you're way too low in Jalen Hurts. Top 12. He's way. He's.
I don't
top,
think. I don't think I'm too
easy.
I don't think I'm too low. I don't think I'm too. And I can name. I mean, I don't know if he's. I mean, 7th is the highest you could possibly rank him, because I don't think
I have him top 5. I think I have him 5th in mine right now.
You can't have him above Jaden Daniels. You can't have him above Matt Stafford.
He's done it longer than Jaden Daniels.
But he's never done it as high of a level. I mean, the way Jaden Daniels is playing late last year.
We've seen Jalen Hurts be nearly perfect in a Super Bowl on the highest level.
With the 3rd best receiver in the league, and the 12th best receiver in the league, and the best running back I've ever seen, and the best line in the league.
He didn't have Saquon in that Super Bowl, the one they lost. He didn't have Saquon in that Super Bowl. I think people are just very disrespectful. The point of the game is to win, man. Like, I actually think that if you put if you put Hurts on the Green Bay Packers, maybe the same. They might be slightly worse. I think you put Love on the Eagles. I think that team's not winning a Super Bowl because I think Love is too aggressive. I think Love will make too many mistakes. Jalen Hurts is the perfect guy for that offense. He knows how to run it. I don't want to get into this argument because I think it's an impossible argument. No one wins, and you're just left arguing because no one's ever going to figure out how the translation actually works. I just think Hurts is sometimes unfairly hated on because he plays on a good team. That's my take. I've been listening to and went to the concert, Turnpike Troubadours. Love Turnpike. They actually play the Uptown in Kansas City. I've said them on this many a time, but Turnpike's one of my favorite bands of all time. They put on such an incredible show. The opening act, American Aquarium, I had never seen before. They were really solid. They also put on a really good, really fun live show. Again, if you're in Kansas City, Uptown Theater is one of my favorite places to catch a concert. But that show was just really, really, really good.
Gotcha. And I won't get further into the Jalen Hurts argument because you're right. It is an unwinnable, unprovable argument, debate, whatever. I will say what irks me is that Eagles fans and other people in media have the audacity to compare him to Patrick Mahomes. When you look at their situations, it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. No quarterback has ever transcended their circumstances more than Patrick Mahomes. I'm not sure it's close. The consistency of what he's done with what's been around him post Tyreek Hill, post Eric Fisher, and post Mitchell Schwartz.
I mean, I get it. If we're only going Super Bowls, then yeah, 100%. I would argue that Josh Allen I mean, no one's saying Sean McDermott's as a Hall of Fame head coach. The receiving core that Josh Allen has is not very good. I mean, again, you have to win Super Bowls if that's going to be the argument. Well, then if you have to win Super Bowls, then Jalen Hurts has to be there. So it's kind of a catch-22, right? Where if you're going to say, Well, to just look at numbers. Well, I think Josh Allen was in a worse situation than Patrick was.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't, because he has 2 bookend tackles. Spencer Brown and Deion Dawkins are awesome tackles. He has an awesome running game to lean on. He has James Cook to lean on. Like, I don't know, man. Like that's important. Patrick Mahomes has had 3 different left tackles 3 years in a row, 3 different wide receiver ones 3 years in a row. And his running game, his running back room, all they bring in are castaways and 7th round picks. They give him nothing in the running game. And the Chiefs make it look good because Patrick Mahomes is great and you have to respect him. And Andy Reid is an offensive genius, but
so we're just forgetting about Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith and Travis Kelce and Chris Jones. Like, I'm not doing this because you can do this for every single situation, every single quarter. The point I'm trying to make is that no one wins because you can always make an argument for a situation being better or worse than someone else. That's the point. End of the day, all you can really judge off of is a lot of times, yes, the eye test, yes, numbers when a career is all said and done. But again, the culmination of what you want is to win, right? Isn't that the goal? Yeah, of course. I'm not saying that Trent Dilfer is better than Dan Marino because he won a Super Bowl, right? We have to use some nuance here. But at this point, I think that Jalen Hurts is just underrated, undervalued, and I'll leave it there.
Fair enough. I have been listening to Islands in the Stream by Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers. Lovely song. And Dolly Parton at a time where the world is a little dark, man. It's just nice to have someone who has a near 100% approval rating. You know, you just have to marvel at who Dolly is, what she's been, and just a great track. I mean, you know, a track is great when a hip hop cover of it, Ghetto Superstar, is also very famous just because it took the bones of that song and did something else. So Islands in the Stream. All right, guys, that is all we've got for you today. Thanks to the chat. You guys always bring it. If you dig Arrowhead Addict, here is how you can help our community grow. First off, subscribe on YouTube. That way you never miss a show, a short. We will be live on Sunday, pregame, halftime, and postgame. So be sure to come hang out with us this Sunday. If you're an audio listener on Spotify or Apple, please consider giving us a 5-star review. That will help us reach more Chiefs fans. It'll help Sterling and myself out a bunch, so we would really appreciate it. Last of all, check out the mothership, arrowheadaddict.com. Matt, Connor, and the gang do a great job. They will have you ready for game time Sunday afternoon. Join us live next Friday at 3 p.m. Central here on the Arrowhead Addict channel. Until then, go Chiefs.